In the first few years of the 20th century, the vast Russian Empire was a volcano at its brink of eruption. The absolute rule of the Romanov dynasty had plunged the nation into a dark abyss of despair. Workers toiled in brutal conditions. The flames of a failed revolution still smoldered from 1905, and the Great War bled the country dry. As the year 1917 dawned, the air was thick with revolution. In February, the people's fury erupted, forcing the Tsar to abdicate his throne. But this was merely the prelude to an even greater upheaval. The October Nights whispered of change, and the Bolsheviks, led by the iron-willed Lenin, were poised to strike. With a promise of peace, land, and bread, they ignited the spark that would overthrow the provisional government and set the stage for a new Soviet dawn. The Russian Civil War would rage on until 1922, painting the snow red with the blood of the White and Red armies.
The Tsar and his family faced a grim fate in the quiet of an Ekaterinburg cellar, marking the end of an era.
And from the ashes rose to titans, Lenin and Stalin, under whose steely gaze the Soviet Union would rise, a nation reborn, but at what cost?
This is the story of the Bolshevik Revolution, a tale of ambition,
struggle, and the relentless pursuit of power that would reshape the world forever. Welcome to the Bolshevik Revolution. Russia was a land of contrasts, and before we delve into the heart of the Bolshevik Revolution, let's set the stage with a glimpse into pre-revolutionary Russia. The Romanov dynasty, which had ruled Russia for over 3 centuries, was a period marked by stark contrasts. On one hand, there was the Tsar liberator Alexander II, who emancipated the serfs and initiated reforms. Yet, his assassination and the reactionary reign of Alexander III laid the groundwork for the discontent that would eventually boil over into revolution. Next in line was Nicholas II, who ascended to the Russian throne. With reluctance, his father, Alexander III, had not prepared him for the burdens of autocracy. He even took a trip to Japan, intended to foster relations, but only left him with a scar from an assassination attempt and a dragon tattoo. And Nicholas himself confessed, "I am not prepared to be a Tsar. I never even wanted to become one." Yet, it was the tragic events following his coronation, notably the Kodinka tragedy, where thousands perished, that earned him the ominous moniker Bloody Nicholas. Russia, at this time, was a nation of paradoxes. It was a land of immense wealth and extreme poverty, of burgeoning industry and ancient agriculture, of enlightened intelligentsia and illiterate peasantry. The Tsar, often seen as the little father of his people, was perceived by many as out of touch with the common man's struggles. Nicholas, a man unprepared for the heavy crown, found himself at the helm of an empire resistant to change, yet crying out for reform. As the echoes of the coronation bells faded, the Russian Empire stood on the brink of the 20th century, facing the winds of modernity with an old-world monarchy. It was a time of great potential, but also of great peril. The seeds of revolution were being sown, and the Romanov dynasty, which had ruled unchallenged for over 3 centuries, would soon find itself a nation's quest for transformation. Vladimir Lenin, born Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, was a revolutionary with a vision that would alter the course of history. After his brother's execution for plotting against the Tsar, Lenin's revolutionary fervor intensified. His activities led to his exile to Siberia, where he married Nadezhda Krupskaya. Following his Siberian exile, Lenin spent time in Western Europe, becoming a prominent Marxist theorist. He lived in several countries, including Germany and England, where he continued to develop his revolutionary ideas. During the years he spent abroad, he authored works that would become the bedrock of the Bolshevik ideology. However, his personality was complex. He was known for his stubbornness and his unwavering dedication to the cause, which eventually led to the split within the Russian Social Democratic Labour Party giving rise to the Bolsheviks and Mensheviks. Interestingly, the name Bolsheviks means majority in Russian, but at the time of their naming, they were actually the minority faction, with the Mensheviks being the majority. He was undoubtedly the architect of revolution. As the first light of 1917 broke over the Russian Empire, the air was already thick with the scent of change. The vast nation, strained by war and wearied by autocracy, was on the brink of monumental upheaval. The stage was set for a revolution that would come into acts, each distinct yet inseparably intertwined in the fabric of history. Act 1. The February Revolution. In the chill of early March, the streets of Petrograd erupted. The February Revolution, so named by the old Julian calendar still in use at the time, saw masses of workers, soldiers, and common folk rise in spontaneous rebellion. The immediate cause was bread, but the deeper currents of discontent ran through years of oppression, war, and suffering. The Tsarist regime, brittle and disconnected from its people, crumbled swiftly as the Tsar abdicated, and a provisional government took shaky control. Act 2. The October Revolution. But the thirst for change was not quenched. In the wings, Vladimir Lenin, leader of the Bolsheviks, watched and waited. Exiled in Switzerland, he understood that the February Revolution was but the prelude. The provisional government was weak, and they continued the war and failed to address the peasants' land and hunger. Lenin saw the moment for what it was, a rare confluence of circumstance and opportunity. With a shrewdness born of years in the revolutionary struggle, Lenin returned to Russia with German assistance, crossing enemy lines in a sealed train. His arrival in April was a spark in the tinderbox of Petrograd. He advocated for a second revolution, one that would place power directly in the hands of the workers and soldiers, through the Soviets' councils that had sprung up across the nation. As the year progressed, the Bolsheviks gained strength. Their message was resonating with a populace disillusioned by the ongoing war and the slow pace of reform. Lenin, ever the tactician, waited for the right moment to act. It came in October. Under the cover of darkness, the Bolsheviks moved. The Winter Palace fell, not to a bloody storm, but to a nearly bloodless coup, as the Red Guards took strategic points throughout the city with little resistance. The October Revolution had succeeded. The Bolsheviks declared a new government, promising peace, land, and bread. The old order was dismantled, and the world's first socialist state, the Soviet Union, was born. In these two acts of revolution, the Russian people had overturned centuries of imperial rule and embarked on an experiment. The immediate aftermath of the revolution saw Russia withdraw from the Great War, as Lenin would fulfill his promise of peace. By signing the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, the Bolsheviks, seizing the reins of power, embarked on a radical restructuring of society. Land was redistributed from the aristocracy to the peasants, and factories were placed under workers' control. The Cheka, a formidable secret police force, was established to quell dissent and solidify the new regime's grip on power. As the dust settled on the revolution's immediate effects, the long-term consequences began to unfold. The Bolsheviks' ascent heralded significant strides in women's rights. Russia became one of the first nations to grant women the right to vote, and subsequent policies promoted gender equality in the workforce and education. A stark contrast to the pre-revolutionary era, the ideological shockwaves of the revolution extended far beyond Russia's borders, igniting the spread of communism across the globe. Nations weary of capitalism's inequalities and inspired by the promise of a classless society began to flirt with communist ideologies. From the rice fields of China to the shores of Cuba, revolutions sprang up, each adapting the tenets of Marxism to their unique circumstances. This proliferation of communism set the stage for the Cold War, a geopolitical chess match between the capitalist West and the communist East. The legacy of the Russian Revolution is a tale of profound transformation and enduring influence.